You're listening to Unmuted Love. Hi there, I'm C. Eshelman, and with 35 years as a marriage and family therapist and 25 years as a parent of 2 children I brought home from the foster care system, I want to welcome you here to Unmuted Love Podcast, the one place where nothing is off limits to say out loud about parenting children from difficult beginnings.
Stop for a minute, stop and breathe for a minute, long it over your head, try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute, who you want to be for a minute, don't get over your head, you're like everyone else, aren't you?
Sometimes it's real sweet around here, and sometimes it ain't so pretty, because this is 100% Unmuted Love. So let's go.
You'll be just
Hey there, welcome to Unmuted Love. I'm your host, C. Eshelman. I'm an attachment and trauma specialist, and this is the podcast for parents doing the really tough, transformative work of raising children from difficult beginnings while keeping nothing secret and holding your head high. So today we're talking about something that's a little bit painful. It's often secret, and it's way more common than most people think when your child hits you. Maybe it was a swat during a meltdown. Maybe it was a punch out of nowhere. Maybe it's kicking and screaming hard and hitting you in the process. However it showed up, if you've been there, you know how it feels. Shocked, hurt, horrified, angry, even ashamed. But let me tell you right now, you are not alone, and you are not a bad parent, and your children are not bad children. They're trauma children. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why hitting happens, what it really means underneath the behavior, and what you can do in the moment, after the moment, and to prevent it next time. So let's dive right on in. Why does this happen? A lot of times people think it's something they're doing, and sometimes it is. Children from hard beginnings often carry invisible wounds, right? Trauma, neglect, early stress, inconsistent care. You name it, a lot of our kids have been through it. These experiences shape how their nervous systems develop and shaped right at the beginning of their lives. Hitting isn't about manipulation or defiance or being pathological or sociopathic, right? Which is sometimes what we think if the hitting goes on beyond the toddler years. It is a form of dysregulated protest. A child saying, I can't cope. No, I don't want this. No, but with their body, not their words. So let's talk a little bit about dysregulation. I know you know about it because I talk about it all the time. Imagine your child's nervous system like a storm. So when something triggers them, a no, or a not now, or please stop that, or even a transition or a perceived threat, their brain gets instantly hijacked. The logical thinking part of the brain goes straight offline. It's like you unplugged a computer that didn't have a battery. They're flooded with emotion, and fight or flight kicks right in. And guess who they feel safest with? Well, yes, it's you. So that's often who they lash out at because, frankly, you're not really going to hurt them. And listen, I don't want you to hurt them in order to get them to stop. That is a mistaken belief we sometimes have, is that, well, if you feel so safe with me that you can kick me, then I'm going to kick you harder so that you don't feel so safe. Oh, I thought that way actually myself, so I have no shame, no blame about that. I'm just saying that that is logical. However, it's not true for children from difficult beginnings. All they would get from you kicking them right back harder would be that you are abusive and mean. They can't trust you. They're not safe with you. And so they're going to keep hitting you more and more. It's really important for all of us to check out our limiting beliefs around these kinds of things because these are old thoughts that are logical. And it's very hard to talk yourself out of a logical thought. Frankly, in order to be a therapeutic parent, there is nothing terribly logical about it. It's very much about being in the dance of the relationship and understanding that if I, for example, let's say I got really dysregulated and let's say I hit my husband, I will have been extremely dysregulated. And the second I calm down, I will be horrified that I did this. I'll feel shame. I'll feel terrible. I'll be remorseful. I'll say I'm sorry. I'll try to make it up to him. And if he loves me, and if I work very hard to not do it again, he will accept my apology and heal. right? He will heal his, fear of me or mistrust of me. Now, I'm not suggesting that we should be in relationships where people hit each other, but frankly, this happens sometimes. Now, I've actually never hit my husband, but let me just say this. Had I pushed him, maybe because he was encroaching on my space, or in an argument, he maybe was talking loud and maybe some, spittle got on my face, I can see that I could react and push him backward. Now, that also has never happened, but I think it could. And I know it's happened with children. So here's what I know, that if he hauled off and slugged me in the face or kicked me really hard or beat me down, I would indeed probably never hit him again for sure, but also I would never trust him again. And you might say, well, how could he ever trust you again? And I would say this, because I'm going to work on it. I am a person who has integrity, and I'm going to work very hard not to do that. But if his response was to punch me harder back when he knows I was dysregulated and pretty much out of my mind, then we're going to be in a domestic violence problem, right? Because every time I get dysregulated, I'm going to be in fight mode, and he's going to get dysregulated and be in fight mode back. And if his thinking is pound her into the ground so that she never hits him again, we're going to be in a situation of a cycle of violence that we're going to have to get out of somehow. And that will usually lead to some kind of divorce or some kind of separation or even law enforcement involvement. If we're lucky, we'll go to therapy and get some help and learn how to manage our emotions. But all that to say this, it doesn't mean that your child, when they hit you or kick you or act out, doesn't love you. It means you're their safest place to unravel. And also, I don't even think it means you're the safest place necessarily. I know that is a theory that has been said by many therapists before. And I do think in some cases it's true. However, I think it's more true that dysregulation unplugs your thinking brain. And then you're on whatever happened to you, you're on doing it to someone else. Right? So if when you were a little child, someone pushed you around or knocked you down or spanked you or hit you when you did something wrong, then when you come to live with me and you're with me and you do feel safe with me, when your brain goes offline because you are dysregulated, then it's likely you will repeat whatever happened to you, hitting, punching, kicking. It could mean that they feel safer with you. It is for sure true that when they're dysregulated, they are going to be on some old programming that isn't very good for a family and that does create habitual cycles of violence in a family. So here's what it can look like in real life. So here's example number 1. A 6-year-old adopted at 4 hits mom when she says no to candy. Why? Early food insecurity, or no feels like rejection or danger. Example number 2. An 8-year-old foster child throws a toy and hits dad when asked to turn off the iPad. Why? Dysregulation triggered by transitions and control issues? Maybe. Example number 3. A 4-year-old who experienced neglect hits grandma when being told, not now, for playtime. Why? Well, needs feel urgent and overwhelming, and waiting feels like abandonment. So can you see that in every single one of those examples, the reason is different? It's not the same. It's not, oh, well, this child feels so safe with you, that's why they hit you. But rather, there are a multitude of reasons why a child might strike you, likely based on what happened to them. So keep that in mind, because how you see behavior really matters. What is behavior? It's communication. It's not bad behavior. It's good communication in a bad way. And so we need to deal with helping them find their words. So what do you do in the moment, right? If you're this parent and you don't want to be in a cycle of violence with your child, here's what you can do. First, your calm is their safety. So now it's not really expected that someone being hit is going to be calm. That isn't actually human. Your blood pressure is going to go up. Your regulation is going to become more dysregulated, right? So it wouldn't be natural for you to stay calm in the face of having been hit. 5 minutes earlier, before the hitting begins, that's a time to be calm. But what is the goal? The goal is first make yourself safe. So even though you got dysregulated when you got hit, then it's important for you to realize that there can be no stopping really your child without first stopping yourself, right? So it's the time to remove yourself a little bit and think safety first. So number 1, step by step, I'm going to take you. Number 1 would be block the hit, gently move to safety, right? Sometimes we just keep going toward the child instead of stepping 1 step back and saying, hold on, it's not okay to hurt me, right? And to block the hit. not block it by hitting the child, just block it so it doesn't hit your face or your stomach or, you in the groin. Number 2, stay regulated. Breathe. Those breathing exercises, hold it for 4, blow it out for 8 counts, breathe in for 7 counts, hold it for 4, right? It's that kind of regulation breathing that helps so much get us regulated. But it's not the only way. You can go get a drink of water. You can go look out the window. You could go in the bathroom and jump up and down 10 times. That will help a lot, actually. Staying regulated is an art, and it's the art of showing up. And you have to be able to have some kind of hack that you have at your fingertips to be able to regulate yourself when your child is dysregulated, because your regulation matters. Your regulation is going to be what co-regulates them. Staying regulated means breathing, speaking slowly. We call it low and slow around here. Go low and slow, because when you go big and high, then you are creating more and more threat to that child's brain. It's not going to help. Number 3, empathize without excusing. It would sound something like this. Oh, sweetheart, you're so upset right now. I won't let you hit me, but I see how hard this is for you. You are really struggling with this. So I'm going to be right here. I'm not going to let you hit me, but I'm going to be right here. That is empathy without excusing the behavior. It's not okay to be hit, and you're going to stop that if you can, but you are not going to be cruel and mean to the child when they're dysregulated. 4, less is more. Avoid talking too much, especially during mid-meltdown. They can't hear you, not really. If they do hear you, it's just to react to you. So that part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, where the executive functions are, is pretty much offline when your child is so dysregulated that they're hitting you. And so whatever you say in the middle of a meltdown really doesn't matter at all. Now, if you hurt them during a meltdown, they will remember that, but they won't remember any words around it, and they often won't remember what they did to you first. So then it's just more like when they were upset, you hit them, which is just how the story becomes more real for them, because they can't always see their own behavior that might provoke yours. That's not an excuse either. It's not to say it's okay to be provoked into hitting your child at all, but I'm thinking more like yelling. I think parents are provoked into yelling. And yelling, of course, makes your child more dysregulated, and they're more inclined to hit you again. And here's number 5, co-regulate. Sit nearby, offer a calming toy, or just be present. This is the total art of showing up. Don't run away. Don't lock yourself in the bathroom. Don't send them to their room. Don't abandon them. Be present. Calm yourself down. Offer them support and love, and wait. Waiting is the hard part. We mostly want these things to go away now, stop now, because we get into an emergency mode, we get into a crisis mode ourselves, and then we're trying to control this dysregulated child. And of course, that never works. So I just want to tell you that there are some things that really won't work. So shaming won't work. Shaming actually puts some more shame inside a child that already feels shame, right? They already feel like somebody didn't want them, that there's something wrong with them, that they've been abandoned for a reason, and that reason is that they aren't worthy. That's what shame is all about. Shame is about who you are, not anything you've done. So they feel ashamed just by existing and having happened to them whatever happened. So when you pile on shame for dysregulation, that matches their shame and escalates them more. Here's another thing you might resist saying. What's wrong with you? First of all, they don't know what's wrong with them. And secondly, there isn't anything wrong with them. They're completely dysregulated. That's it. They have a very hard time accepting no, or accepting transitions, or accepting changes that they didn't know about in advance. There's lots of reasons that children get dysregulated, and there isn't anything wrong. It's a natural part of their system. What is wrong is that their system doesn't regulate easily on its own. And that's our job, to help them regulate by co-regulating first. And then lastly, work really hard not to escalate it, right? We parents sometimes throw gasoline on the fire because we are angry when our child acts out, especially if it's in public. We consider that bad behavior, and we think through the eyes of other people. What must they think about my parenting or my child or the situation? And then we get embarrassed, or we just want to control it to make it go away. And that is an escalator. So let's try really hard to accept the things we can't change. Right? We can't change our children overnight. They are who they are. They are harmed. And this is what happens to harmed people. And it's pretty much to a person. I had someone say to me today, well, all adoption isn't the same. Foster adoption isn't the same as private adoption. And I'm like, well, no kidding. Those processes are quite different. But what she was saying to me is that the brains of a privately adopted child is different than the brain of a foster child who was adopted. And I would say only to a degree, right? Even if you're privately adopted, even if the transition was smooth and beautiful and something everybody wanted, that child has still left the uterus of a woman where he or she spent 9 months and got used to that parent. That parent is their life force. So when they come out of the womb, that child is looking for that woman, not any woman. So even if they go into the arms of a beautiful, wonderful adoptive mother who wanted the child and the biological parent wanted this transition, the baby sure didn't. And so that is what causes early dysregulation in children that sometimes really doesn't calm down. It leads to toxic stress in the baby. When people say, well, a private adoption, I'm not going to have any trouble. I'm like, well, actually, you might have trouble, and it would be really good to become a therapeutic parent right away and to not assume that your child who's privately adopted doesn't need the same kind of therapeutic parenting as a child who went through foster care. So what do you do after this big hitting event happens, and how do you prevent it next time? Well, you have to wait for the storm to be over. So after the storm, you have to wait for the calm, then circle back, and you have to be sure the child is really, truly calm. It might be a whole day or a week even. Some children can stay dysregulated for a long period of time, especially if they have toxic stress. So circle back and do what I call a modified life space interview. That's from Cornell University, and it's just modified for our kids. And it generally goes like this. You know, what happened earlier was really tough. You were very upset, and you hit me, and it hurt me, and let's talk about it. What was happening for you? What did you notice in your body? What were your feelings? When you hit me, what did that feel like? When it was over, how did you feel? And what do you want to do next time so that it doesn't happen again? That's a modified life space interview. Now, some people like the do-over tool, and I think that's fine if your child is into it and they're young enough. Let's practice what you could say next time instead of hitting. That is a top-down intervention, but it is an intervention, and you can ask them to repeat it a couple of times, like, I'm so angry, Mom. That might be what you say. You could say, I'm so angry, Mom, instead of hitting me, and I will listen. So you'll have to have them repeat that several times, many times, and you might even have to remind them just before the dysregulation happens that all they have to do is use their words, and you'll be there to listen. Because top-down coaching is useful in that it creates new neural pathways, but in dysregulation, it's very hard to use new neural pathways. So it's an intervention for later in life. For right now, it's likely it won't work that well. The best thing you can do is teach regulation tools. And I already talked about them: breathing, safe words. You could teach them to tear paper, not people. You could give them signal cards, I need space, or I need quiet, or I want to be alone. Those signal cards are great because they're words on index cards that your child might understand, but they can't find in their brain. So they can flash one at you. And it's really important to honor them. If you're going to work together in this collaborative problem-solving way, what you want to do is make sure that you are being collaborative and that you are ready to practice what they ask for. And then there are prevention strategies. Predictability, right? The more predictable you are, the more calm your children are. Connection through play and shared joy. Play is the language of children. Connection is everything. Behavioral interventions break connection. Just keep that in mind. And then, of course, front-loading, pre-teaching before transitions or stressors. Front-loading is my best friend. I love it. If you can tell your children ahead of time, not too far in advance so that they get anxious, but just before something's going to happen, either what your expectation is or what's going to happen, they're much better able to actually do what you ask them to do, rather than leaving it up to their brains to be able to think when they start getting dysregulated, when they get into a crowd or the transition's happening or something's happening that they're scared of, because they won't be able to pull together their thinking like, oh yeah, Mom told me yesterday that I was going to go to the dentist. It's better when you're walking in the door of the dentist also to say, okay, here's what's going to happen. Or, for example, if you're going to go shopping at a department store, then before you get out of the car, you say, hey, let me just talk to you about what's going to happen. We're going to go inside the store. I'm going to pick up 2 things. We're going to go over to the toy aisle, and I'm going to let you look at some toys and tell me the 3 toys that you want me to consider for your birthday. And then we're going to check out, and we're not going to buy anything for your birthday. We're going to get these 2 things that we're going in there for. We're going to look for your toys for the future, and then we're going to check out and go back to the car. If you aren't able to do that because you get too dysregulated, I will understand and I'll just take you out of the store and that'll be fine. We'll just stop what we're doing right there. Okay? So that's my expectation and I hope we can do it. The other thing is that when you get into the store, hold their hand or have them put their hand on the basket. If they're young children, if they're older, they can have some freedom. Allow them to wander the store and expect them to keep an eye on where you're at in your process. So there are some things that are really easy to do that we just think, oh, they'll know because we've been to a department store before. Well, of course they have, but that was before. Now is now. And they're different people now, right? You never step into the same stream twice. And so we have to continually front load our kids because they are anew every day in a way. And some of them, if they have fetal alcohol syndrome or drug exposure, their brains have a hard time retaining information. And so we do need to repeat ourselves. And that's not bad. It's just a fact. And so we shouldn't blame our children for having to say something 2 or 3 times. They actually need us to do that. And it's not because they weren't listening. It's because they can't retain the information for very long sometimes. So if your child hits, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because something happened to them. And now you're helping them heal. And you're not alone. You're doing a brave, beautiful thing, loving this child into wellness. So let me recap just real quick. Stay calm. Keep everyone safe, including yourself. Be the adult brain when theirs is offline and reconnect and repair after the storm. I hope that's helpful to you, and I'm looking forward to you having a violence-free family life by practicing these tools. They're simple tools, but they work when you do them. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming to Unmuted Love today. And remember, your love matters when more than love is required. Hey parents, this is C. Get the help you need to end destructive and chaotic behavior in your home while parenting children from difficult beginnings. I know you need help, and the Love Plus parenting model actually works. I'm inviting you to work with me personally for 6 months in my virtual therapeutic parent program, and I guarantee you results or 100% of your investment back. How is that for a blue ribbon deal? I'm looking forward to working with you. See you on the inside.
Stop for a minute. Stop and breathe for a minute. Long it over your head. Try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute. Who you want to be for a minute. Don't get over your head. You're like everyone else, aren't you? You could gain from being a bit nicer. Knowing to talk and when to shut your mouth.
The Unmuted Love podcast is hosted by me, C. Eshelman, attachment and trauma specialist at the Attach Place in Sacramento, California. Our podcast producer is the amazing Saya Clark, and our theme song is Nicer by Houses on the Hill, licensed through Epidemic Sound. Thank you for being such loyal listeners here on Unmuted Love. I'll see you all next week.
You'll be just fine.